not because they're stupid, not because they don't want it bad enough. They stop because they're running a new strategy through an old nervous system, and the body will always drag you back to what feels familiar, even if what feels familiar is chaos, urgency, and self-sabotage. You can feel it, can't you? You're not lost anymore. You've learned a real model. You've cleaned up your chart. You've done the back testing. You've seen proof. You've had runs where you were winning. You've tasted what it could look like. And yet, nothing is breaking open. It's like you're standing in front of a locked door with the right key in your hand, but your hand is shaking, your mind is rushing, and you keep jamming it into the lock at the wrong angle, then blaming the key. That plateau isn't a market problem. It's an operator problem. And the operator is your mind. The mind, my friends, is the most powerful tool you possess, the key to unlocking potential, the foundation of success, the secret weapon that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. But only when you actually learn to use it instead of letting it use you. Because most men don't have a strategy issue. They have a mind that reacts like a rigid tree in a storm, a tree that refuses to bend. And when the storm comes, and life always brings storms, and trading is nothing but storms disguised as candles, that rigid tree snaps. There's another tree though. It sways and it adapts. It has deep roots. It doesn't fight the wind. It moves with it without losing itself. That's mental strength, not toughness, not pretending you don't feel fear, not trying to be cold. Resilience, adaptability, the ability to stay rooted while everything around you shifts. And if you want to understand why you're still stuck even though you're close, you have to see this with brutal clarity. Your reaction to price is a reflection of your mental strength, not your chart reading, not your knowledge, your reaction. That tightness in your chest when you enter, that urge to check every second, that need to adjust your stop just a bit, that impulse to take partial too early, then regret it, then chase, then overtrade. That feeling that if you're not doing something, you're falling behind. That's not analysis. That's the nervous system begging for relief. And a nervous system like that will sabotage even the best system on earth. You can learn from a top trader. You can pay for a mentor. You can have a model that works on paper. You can win often enough to prove the edge exists and still remain stuck because you are trading from your old identity. Your old identity is not interested in consistency. It's interested in validation. It needs the outcome. It needs to be right. It needs to prove something to someone, even if that someone is only the version of you that still feels like he has something to make up for. And that identity has baggage, urgency, ego attachment, fear of being wrong, addiction to chaos, a habit of reacting, a habit of forcing, a habit of treating each trade like a verdict on your worth. So you overmanage. You hesitate, you overtrade, you revenge trade. You size down after a loss because fear hits, and you call it being smart, but really it's your confidence collapsing. And then you never climb out of the hole because you can't tolerate the process long enough to let the edge do its job. At best, you become what most plateau traders become. Break even. Up a little, down a little, reset, repeat. And it's not because you don't know what to do. It's because knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is only potential power. Execution is power. And execution comes from identity. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud. You don't need more discipline. You need a different operating system. Because discipline, for most men, is force. White knuckling. Trying to control yourself through willpower. And willpower collapses the moment fear spikes. Mental strength is different. Mental strength is becoming the tree that bends. The man who adapts without breaking. The man who can feel the fear and still execute clean. Because mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, like a muscle. And you build it the same way you build anything real, daily. Not through one big decision, through 1,000 small decisions that no one claps for. This is where people misunderstand the plateau. They think the plateau is solved by a new system, but the plateau is solved by new habits that rewire the mind and calm the nervous system. Because the strategy is the map, but your mind is the driver. And if the driver is panicking, it doesn't matter how perfect the map is. So let's make this clean. If you are stuck right now, close to success but not breaking through, it usually means one of two things is true. Either you don't actually trust your system, or you trust it, but your identity doesn't. Your conscious mind says, this works. Your body says, we can't tolerate the uncertainty. And when body and mind disagree, the body wins. That's why you can watch someone else trade your model and it looks effortless, calm, inevitable. Same entries, same zones, same conditions, but different results. Different operator, different nervous system, different identity. The mentor isn't better. He's just not negotiating with himself. He isn't bending rules to soothe emotion. He isn't forcing a trade to relieve urgency. He isn't searching for certainty inside a probabilistic game. He has become the kind of person who waits. And this is where the separation happens. Most people are rigid. They react, they chase, they force, they look for dopamine, they look for excitement, they want to feel something. They can't handle boredom. They can't handle quiet. They can't handle the empty space between setups. But there are people who move differently. Not loudly, not dramatically. They just wait. They don't need to be active to feel in control. They don't need to click buttons to feel progress. They don't confuse motion with direction. And trading exposes which one you are. Because trading is a mirror. It doesn't just show you your strategy, it shows you your character. It shows you your relationship with fear. It shows you your relationship with failure. It shows you your relationship with uncertainty. And if you're honest, you already know the cycle. You take a loss and you feel the need to get it back. You win and you feel relief, not confidence. You hesitate, then chase. You plan, then abandon the plan the moment discomfort appears. You tell yourself, this time I'll follow rules. And then the market touches your emotions and you start improvising like you're fighting for your life. That pain isn't proof you're broken. It's proof your identity hasn't been updated, because mental strength is not about eliminating fear. It's about learning to dance with it. Fear is often just false evidence appearing real. The mind creates a future catastrophe to justify a present reaction. And if you don't understand that, your mind will treat every pullback like danger, every drawdown like identity death, every missed trade like humiliation, every loss like you're not good enough. So you start protecting yourself emotionally and you call it strategy. But it's not strategy, it's self-protection. And self-protection will keep you stuck forever. This is why failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every consistent trader has failed more times than the average person has even tried. The difference is they didn't let failure become a label. They used it as data. They asked, what can I learn from this? They refined, they repeated, they stayed rooted. And this is where perspective becomes everything. Two people can sit in the same market, same session, same volatility, same news, same candle structure. One is fuming, anxious, reacting, adjusting, overtrading. The other is calm, observing, waiting, letting the model come to him. Same situation, different reaction, different identity. This is mental strength, the ability to respond instead of react. And in trading, that single difference is the difference between plateau and breakout. So what do you do with this? You stop trying to fix your strategy every time your emotions spike. You stop blaming the model for your nervous system. You stop strategy hopping like you're trying to outrun yourself. Because that's what strategy hopping is. Taking the old identity to a new system every week. Same fear, new chart layout, same urgency, new indicators, same baggage, new rules, and nothing changes. Because you're still the rigid tree. You're still snapping in the storm. The real work is reprogramming the operator. And that happens through daily habits. Small, unglamorous habits. The kind that build roots, the kind that make you stable, the kind that make you consistent, because discipline isn't perfection. It's consistency. It's doing the right thing even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. And yes, this starts outside the charts, because you can't live reactively all day, then expect to trade proactively for 1 hour. You can't train your mind to chase dopamine, then expect it to love boredom when the market is slow. You can't fill your mornings with noise and chaos, then expect your execution to be calm. This is why the best traders guard their day. They take control of their mornings. Not because it's trendy, because it programs the nervous system, because the first hour sets the emotional temperature of the entire day, because if you start the day with purpose, the world has a harder time hijacking you. You don't need to become a monk. You need to become intentional, because mental strength begins with ownership, responsibility, not blame. While you can't control what happens in the market, you can control how you respond. And your response is built before you ever place a trade, built in your sleep, built in your routine, built in your self-talk, built in the way you train your focus, built in the people you let into your mind. Because your inner dialogue is not harmless, it's programming. If you speak to yourself like you're losing, you'll trade like you're losing. If you speak to yourself like you're still proving something, you'll trade like every trade is a performance. If you speak to yourself like you're a professional, you'll start acting like one. And the strongest traders don't hype themselves up. They calm themselves down. They replace "I need to win" with "I need to execute." They replace "I can't take another loss" with "loss is part of the sample size." They replace "I'm behind" with "I wait for conditions." They replace "I have to trade today" with "I get to trade when it's clean." Words matter, because your words create your reality. So here's the simplest way to know if you're shifting into the profitable identity. You stop needing the market to make you feel okay. You stop trying to extract emotional safety from a candle. You stop negotiating with your rules. You stop treating boredom like a problem. You start seeing boredom as sacred. Because boredom is where the edge lives. Repetition is where the edge lives. Routine is where the edge lives. The profitable identity doesn't chase excitement, it respects procedure. It becomes the kind of person who can do the same thing, the same way again and again, without needing novelty. That's what people don't understand. They think the profitable trader is someone with a secret strategy. But the profitable trader is someone who became stable enough to stop interfering. A mind that can focus, a nervous system that can tolerate uncertainty, an identity that does not need to be right. This is the breakthrough. Not a new entry model, not a new indicator, a new operating system. And once you cross that line, you don't unsee it. You can never go back to trading like a reactive man and pretend it feels normal. Because you'll feel the difference instantly. You'll feel when you're forcing. You'll feel when you're chasing. You'll feel when you're trading to prove. And you'll know you're not that guy anymore. Some paths close quietly behind you. If this resonates with you, comment, "I wait, then I execute." And if you're the type who understands this without needing it explained twice, subscribe so you don't miss the next one.